Hey everyone, if you're loving these slow burn revenge stories told with ice in the veins, do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and stick around. It means the world and keeps these coming. Now, let's get into it. The overhead light bounced off the forks and knives so hard it sounded like crystal about to shatter. Dad never looked up from his plate when he spoke. All the money's gone, Emily. Mom's smile pulled a little tighter, rehearsed, almost happy. We've moved everything over to Nathan's family. You really should have been more excited about our fresh start. The chatter around the dinner table died instantly, replaced by a low buzz that sat in my jaw. Forks froze midair. Chairs stopped shifting. Nobody met my eyes. I set my water glass down slow and careful. The tiny clink louder than their whole announcement. Then I took one even breath and said, that's interesting, because they had zero clue what door they just kicked open. I was raised in a house where quiet did all the heavy lifting. Nobody ever came out and said Nathan was the golden child. They never needed to. You could see it in the way Mom's hand floated to his shoulder at every party, steering him into the spotlight while mine stayed empty at my side. You could see it in the birthdays, his with fancy catered spreads and a magician in a cheap cape, mine with a grocery store cake and one sad, leaning candle nobody bothered to straighten. I learned young how to be helpful instead of noticed. When a late payment notice showed up addressed to nobody in particular, I was the one who tucked it in a drawer without a word. When Nathan forgot a huge school project, I stayed up all night rebuilding it while he snored. He got the A+. I got a quick thanks over mashed potatoes. That was their version of fair. But there was one room where the math worked differently. Grandma Eleanor's bedroom. It always smelled like lavender and yellowed paper that crackled when she turned the pages. Her little lamp threw soft gold across her glasses, her journals, and the small carved box she kept on the nightstand. Whenever she waved me in, it felt like crossing a border into a country that actually knew my name. One night, close to the end, she patted the bed. Her voice was thin but razor sharp. Emily, listen close. She opened that wooden box like it might bite her, lifted out a heavy silver key etched with strange swirls, and pressed it into my hand. Her fingers shook just a little. One day they'll try to take it all, she said. But I've already fixed that. This key is step one. You'll know when. I told her she was being paranoid, that our family wasn't like that. She gave me a look, love mixed with sorrow mixed with the rock-solid certainty only old people who've stopped lying to themselves can pull off. After she died, everything changed. Dad remarried. The house got colder, shinier, staged like a furniture catalog. Nathan found a new cheerleader in Stephanie, who loved telling anyone who'd listen how promising he was. I faded into the wallpaper, the reliable daughter, the one who'd be just fine alone. Always polite, always useful. They took a new family photo. I wasn't in it. I smiled anyway. I stayed exactly what they needed, so they never noticed what I was actually doing, studying them. Their habits, their excuses, the tiny tells when they wanted something that wasn't theirs. That's when I realized I did have a seat at the table, just not on a chair. I was standing right behind them where I could see every card they played. Back in that dining room, everything looked refrigerated. White tablecloths, glass everywhere, no warmth allowed. Mom and Dad sat at the head like royalty. Nathan and Stephanie across from them, posing for a portrait nobody asked to paint. Dad set his fork down with a soft ping. Still didn't look at me. The money's gone, Emily. Mom jumped in bright and breezy. We moved it all to Nathan's family. It just makes sense. You should have been happier about the new chapter. Nathan didn't gloat out loud. He just leaned back a little, chin high, like he'd already accepted an award. Stephanie reached over and needlessly straightened a napkin, pretending to be the gentle one while twisting the knife. Nobody asked how I felt. Nobody wondered if it was theirs to give away. My hands stayed folded in my lap, so they wouldn't see them shake. My phone buzzed once under the napkin, some alert I didn't check. Dad finally flicked his eyes up, making sure I wasn't about to cry or yell. Mom's smile relaxed. She thought her wording had been perfect. We just need you to understand, she sang. Nathan has a baby now, responsibilities. Like I didn't exist. I picked up my water, set it down harder than I meant. The glass rang. Every single face twitched. That's interesting, I said. 3 little words, flat and calm. They thought it meant surrender. It meant the starting gun. In the parking garage, my car ticked itself cool. I sat behind the wheel, not squeezing, just resting my hands, afraid too much pressure might break something I wasn't ready to feel yet. The fluorescent lights hummed and flickered like the whole place was holding its breath. I didn't cry. I didn't even blink hard. I just opened the little console compartment, pulled out the tiny velvet pouch I'd carried for years without knowing why, and tipped Grandma's silver key into my palm. Cold, heavy, beautiful. They'll show you who they really are one day, she'd whispered. And when they do, you'll know exactly what to do. Now I knew. I set the key on the passenger seat like it was pointing me home, then finally checked the buzzing phone. A polite system alert, attempted access denied. Someone at that table had been trying to move money long before dessert. I turned the phone off, let the silence land. At sunrise, I called the design studio where I worked and told them I had a family emergency. My voice stayed level. No details required. Then I dialed the number on the business card Grandma had slipped me years ago with a quiet, "Mr. Harlan handles things." He picked up on the second ring. "Miss Hale, I've been waiting." An hour later, I was in a hushed glass office 20 floors above the city. No one at reception asked questions. That was the whole point. Mr. Harlan slid a thick folder across the table. Your grandmother's contingencies triggered the second they tried to touch it. She was thorough. Inside, frozen accounts, automatic blocks, audit trails, every transfer attempt looping straight back to the same 4 names, signed in their own handwriting. And at the bottom, the knockout punch, a single page from Whitford Holdings, the shadow company that actually owned Hale Industries. Grandma's signature. One highlighted line. Upon any unauthorized access attempt, full controlling interest transfers immediately and irrevocably to Emily Hale. My heart didn't race. It just clicked into place. The rest of the morning was paperwork and quiet phone calls, authorizations, injunctions, internal audits, sealed trusts waiting for that silver key. Control isn't loud. It's just paperwork done right. By lunchtime, the cracks were showing. Stephanie's big charity luncheon imploded when every credit card she tried got declined in front of the entire restaurant. Someone filmed her perfect smile crumbling. The clip spread like wildfire in certain group chats. Nathan called me panting. There are auditors everywhere. Everything's locked. Dad looks lost. Lost. The word didn't taste like victory. It tasted like confirmation. That night I sat at my kitchen table lining documents up like soldiers. The silver key rested beside them, linking Grandma's hand to mine across years. This wasn't revenge. It was inheritance doing exactly what it was built to do. Next day, right before noon, a dented rental car that didn't match their designer coats pulled up to the loading zone of Hale Industries. I watched from the top floor as they all climbed out like they'd carpooled to a funeral. When the elevator dinged, they shuffled in together, Dad first, shoulders folded in, Mom fussing with her purse strap, Stephanie's lipstick bleeding at one corner, Nathan glued to his dead phone, Laura clutching the baby like a shield. They stopped at the doorway of the corner office. The nameplate was already gone, just bare brass screws now. I didn't stand. Have a seat. They sat, stiff, careful. Mr. Harlan observed from the side, hands folded, saying nothing. Dad cleared his throat. Emily, this is clearly some misunderstanding. I slid the first stack across. Let's not waste time. Frozen assets, active injunctions, attempted fraudulent transfers, every page time-stamped and pointing to you. Color drained from his face. Mom reached for his arm, then thought better of it. Nathan leaned in. This is insane, you can't just... I placed the next document in front of him. You personally signed the ownership reassignment request. Access revoked instantly. His mouth clamped shut. Stephanie tried in a tiny voice, we were told. Grandma built it to trigger the second anyone tried, I said. I turned the final page around. Whitford Holdings, full transfer of control to me. The air left the room like someone pulled a plug. Dad finally looked at me, really looked. Emily, we made a mistake. Mistake. Such a tidy little word. You tried to steal what wasn't yours because you thought I'd stay quiet. Mom whispered, We thought you'd understand. Nathan has a family now. I nodded to Mr. Harlan. He slid 2 neat piles forward. 2 choices, I said. Option 1, I press charges. Fraud, misappropriation, the works. You lose everything, plus prison time. Option 2, you sign full confessions, permanently disclaim any rights to the estate. Dad resigns today, and everyone signs an ironclad NDA. No one argued. Their power had vanished overnight. Nathan snatched the pen first, scribbling like the paper had personally insulted him. Stephanie's hand shook so hard the signature wobbled. Laura stared at the floor. Mom searched my face for the old Emily, who would have cleaned up their mess. She didn't find her. She signed. Dad signed last, setting the pen down like it weighed 50 pounds. Mr. Harlan gathered the pages. Meeting over. They filed out slow, defeated, armor gone. At the doorway, Dad paused. How long has this been planned? I met his eyes. Since the first time you decided I didn't need a place in this family. He nodded once, small and final, then followed the others down the hall. The second the door closed, the office exhaled. City light poured in, bouncing off hundreds of windows like nothing dramatic had happened at all. I stayed in the chair a minute, letting my new silence settle, the kind that belongs to me, not the kind they used to keep me small. Grandma's photo sat on the desk, that same knowing half-smile. I opened the folder that had waited years. The Eleanor Whitford Foundation grants, legal aid, safe exits for women rebuilding after family or financial betrayal. Something stronger than revenge. Something that lasts. I closed it, stood, locked the office, and left the key on the desk where it belonged. I used to think silence was their weapon to shrink me. Turns out it was the space I needed to grow. The money they tried to take? That was never the real fortune. The real fortune was the calm that comes after the truth finally speaks, the boundary that doesn't ask permission, the quiet that answers to nobody but me. When I walked out of that building, I wasn't carrying a company or a legacy. I was carrying myself, whole, for the first time. If these ice-cold revenge stories hit you right in the chest, subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay close. You won't want to miss what comes next.